Hi everyone, this is Lomax's Allegedly. I am Lisa, your host. This story is about a troubled young lady from Louisiana who made a career for herself in law enforcement. But while serving her community, her past and ignoring her battle with her mental illness came back to cause others harm. Some people fall through the cracks of the system. And some people, the ones who were supposed to protect us, are the very ones who should have never been given a badge in the first place. Today's story is about Antoinette Frank, a New Orleans police officer, a killer, and one of the most disturbing cases of law enforcement betrayal in American history. Before we get started with this story, if you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps our channel to grow and to bring more stories like this one. And now, back to the story. Antoinette Frank was born in 1971 in Opelousas, Louisiana. From the outside, she seemed like a young woman determined to make something of herself. But those who knew her described a troubled childhood marked by instability, a volatile home life, and early signs of serious psychological problems. Her father, Adam Frank, was a former law enforcement officer himself, a detail that would later make investigators shake their heads. Antoinette grew up bouncing between family members, struggling with mental health issues that went unaddressed and untreated. She was described by acquaintances as erratic, paranoid, and at times completely detached from reality. Yet despite all of this, despite the red flags that were visible even before she applied, Antoinette Frank managed to get herself hired by the New Orleans Police Department in 1993. The New Orleans Police Department in the early 1990s was an institution in crisis. Rampant corruption, understaffing, and a city drowning in crime created an environment where oversight was almost non-existent. Officers were being hired quickly and scrutiny was low. When Antoinette Frank applied, a psychological evaluation actually recommended against hiring her. The evaluator noted serious concerns about her mental stability, but somehow, through a combination of bureaucratic failure and sheer negligence, she was hired anyway, given a gun, given a badge, given authority over the citizens of New Orleans. Almost immediately, her fellow officers noticed something was off. She was unreliable, prone to bizarre behavior, and made her colleagues deeply uncomfortable. One officer who frequently patrolled with her, a young man named Ronald Williams II, tried to maintain a professional relationship with her despite finding her deeply unsettling. Ronald Williams was just 25 years old. He worked extra security shifts at a Vietnamese restaurant called Kim An, located on the eastern side of New Orleans. The restaurant was owned and operated by the Vu family, a hardworking immigrant family who had built their business from nothing. Ronald was close with the family. He was almost like a member of it. And that connection would cost him his life. March 4th, 1995. It was just after midnight when Antoinette Frank walked into the Kim An restaurant. She had been there many times before. She knew the layout, she knew the staff, she knew Ronald Williams was working his security shift inside. She was not alone. She brought with her a young man named Rogers Lacaze, a teenager she had become dangerously entangled with, a small-time criminal with a violent history. Together they entered the restaurant. What happened next was cold, calculated, and absolutely merciless. Antoinette Frank shot and killed Ronald Williams, her own partner on the police force, in cold blood. She and Lacaze then turned their weapons on the Vu family in their restaurant. Quang Vu and his sister Ha Vu, both young adults who were working that night, were also shot and killed. A third sibling, Chow Vu, managed to hide inside the restaurant's walk-in cooler and survive. She later became the key witness who would bring Antoinette Frank to justice. The motive? Robbery. The register, whatever cash was on hand. 3 lives snuffed out for a few $100s. In a move that is almost incomprehensible, Antoinette Frank actually responded to the 911 call about the shooting. She showed up at the scene of the crime she had just committed, in uniform, acting as an officer responding to an emergency, while the bodies of her victims were still inside. But Chow Vu, hiding and terrified, recognized her. When other officers arrived, Chow told them exactly what she had seen. She identified Antoinette Frank as one of the shooters. Antoinette was quickly taken in for questioning. Investigators found cash on her that matched the robbery. Rogers Lacaze was arrested shortly after. The case came together rapidly. Within days, Antoinette Frank was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. The trial of Antoinette Frank was swift and damning. The evidence was overwhelming. Chow Vu's eyewitness testimony was devastating. In 1995, Antoinette Frank was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. Rogers Lacaze was also convicted and sentenced to death. Antoinette Frank remains on Louisiana's death row today. She is one of only a handful of women in the United States currently awaiting execution. The Vu family lost 2 children that night. The New Orleans Police Department lost whatever remaining credibility it had. And Ronald Williams, a young officer just trying to do right by a family he cared about, lost his life. This case is a reminder that the systems meant to protect us are only as strong as the people running them. When those systems fail, when they ignore the warnings, wave through the red flags, and put dangerous people in positions of power, innocent people pay the price. I'm Lisa, and this has been Lomax's Allegedly. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and never stop asking questions.